Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to share my experiences on how my relationships changed with friends and family once I committed to self-improvement. In my experience, when I decided to make the decision to better myself because I wanted a better life, I found two types of resistance. One was the internal resistance, and the second one was external resistance. Now, self-improvement is essentially you committing to bettering yourself, investing in yourself, learning, changing certain things about yourself for the better. When you do this, essentially you are changing who you are. You have to change who you are, changing your identity. And when you commit to doing this, it feels uncomfortable because essentially who you are is a reflection of your core beliefs. And you deciding to change who you are, you have to change certain beliefs that you have about yourself and about the world. And when you do that, essentially you are embarking into the unknown, which instinctually causes fear. In that fear responds in your mind and your body, which is why a lot of people are really hesitant to embrace change, especially when it comes to changing how they look, like their appearance, changing beliefs that they have since they grew up, changing habits, all that sort of thing. But you have to do it in order to be able to get different results, because if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. So that was one resistance that I faced, because you have to essentially be fearless and take a risk into exploring different areas of yourself or life that you haven't yet explored. So that was one part. The second one was external resistance, and this was mostly manifested by friends and family. This is because same way that your life is a reflection of your core beliefs, the people around you are used to a version of you that they've known since whatever instance they met you. That's the first impression, is the lasting impression, and it's very hard to break that impression. So as soon as you commit to changing your identity because you want to better yourself, there's also going to be resistance on that part, because to them it's also unknown, and instinctually it also generates that same fear reaction in them. It's not that they necessarily intentionally mean ill for you, but it's unknown. They don't know if this new version of you is going to affect them positively or negatively. It's completely instinctual, that reaction. Now, unfortunately, this is how humans are wired, and it means that if you commit to the path, you commit to bettering yourself, there's going to be a point where you have to make the decision of you deciding whether you want to let go of who you are, and that includes letting go of the people who hold that old version of you in their mind, or committing to the new life, potentially a new you, and that includes exploring the possibility of new friendships and new relationships, and that includes family members as well. So you have those two positions, and for a long time I fought with the guilt between making these decisions, because at one point I was struggling with making the decision of cutting people off that I've known my whole life and I had good relationships with, but on a personal level, I was aware that our paths were headed in completely different directions. And letting go was extremely challenging. But on the other side, there was the nagging thought of thinking, okay, so I'm going to put what I want, which is, it is the unknown, but I know I want a better life. I want to put this on pause because I don't want to hurt or anger this group of people. And that took a while to actually be able to overcome that. But what I've come to realize after a few years now is that life has a funny way of basically replacing everything you have lost and bringing in, let's say, newer people into your life that now fit your new identity, that now fit your new season, let's call it, your new stage of development. I don't want to say that's a good thing or bad thing. It's just that's naturally, I think that's the natural progression, what is going to happen if you do commit to that. And not necessarily means, that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be resentment towards the other people, because ultimately it's your life. You can't put your life on pause because it might offend someone else. That makes no sense. So this is something that it took me a bit, but I made peace with, because now I'm extremely happy. I have great relationships, and they are definitely not the same relationships that I had, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago. But without even knowing it, it'll just naturally happen the same way that relationships or some relationship friendships naturally die out. Some will naturally occur or form because of new shared interests, or you just ran into someone. Once you veer off the path, you find people who also are on that path. You just continue that cycle of development for however long it takes, especially when it comes to the next time or the next iteration when you decide to reinvent yourself once again. So I know I'm rambling, but this was just to share at least my experience, because this is something that took a bit to process. Even though I already had made up my mind of what I wanted, I just needed to lay to bed the feeling of guilt because I was distancing myself from people that I had interacted with and known my whole life. But that's okay. Ultimately, it is what it is. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you only have one life, and you have to decide what it is that you want. And as I've grown older, I realized that you really have to be extremely strict about the people you choose to spend time with, the people you let influence you, because that will affect the path that you're on, and that will definitely affect whether you stay who you are despite you wanting to change, or if you take a risk and go for what it is that you want. There's no guarantees, but it's something different. Not sure if that was all over the place, but I did want to share at least my experience. And after reflecting on this topic for a bit, definitely something that I know a lot of people struggle with, which is why I wanted to talk about. But ultimately, it has to be you. It's your life. You have to make the call, make the decision, and decide what it is that you want. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it might just be worth it. So yeah, feel free to share your experience below if you went through a similar thing or are going through a similar thing. I always respond to all the comments. If you made it this far, I do appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.